What's going on, YouTube Metal Complex here, and today I've got a very special knife overview to do with you guys. This is the prototype Olamic Cutlery Soloist, and it is sporting the brand new, beautiful entropic finish. Entropy being a lack of predictability, I think that is coming to light and being defined here with this finish. As The way I understand it is when this finish is applied, it's basically unpredictable, and you get this random but very, very beautiful pattern. My camera actually doing the finish justice. Funny thing is, I usually complain about my lighting, as it doesn't bring out the qualities of the colors. For the very first time, for whatever reason, this entropic finish is actually being shown correctly. This is what this actually looks like. You can see there's some iridescence in that as you turn the knife. It sort of changes colors. Beautiful, beautiful knife. This knife was once again provided to me by my good buddy Jeff Goodnow, who provides a lot of super cool and super exotic stuff to the channel. Though I have to admit, this is one of, if not the most exotic thing that I've ever shown on this channel. If you are new to this channel, I like to do daily uploads, knife reviews, knife overviews, unboxings, discussion topics, and on Sundays I have my Knife Guy series. So if that all sounds good to you and you like a laid-back channel that does regular content, go ahead and subscribe and turn those notifications on because there's a lot more coming. So anyways, Olamic Cutlery is owned and operated by a gentleman named Eugene Solomonic, and his work has been very, very popular for a long time. They have, of course, their original Wayfarer, which is my first experience. That was my first knife from Olamic, and then they made a Mid-Tech 247, which has been very popular, and they've continued to make models like the Busker and the Rainmaker and the Swish, and models that have been very, very popular. This is not, as of right now in this exact moment, a production model. It is a prototype. So there's going to be certain things that I'm limited on, like pricing. I have no idea. I don't think it's going to be nearly, people look at something like this and they think like really, I don't think it's going to be quite super high up there. Of course, it depends on finishes and materials and things like that. But I think, as is the case with Olamic cutlery knives in general, people who are shopping in that caliber are generally pleasantly surprised by their prices. I know I always am. If you exist in a world where you've been purchasing folding knives in the budget category, or basically the under like 250 or less, then it's still going to look really, really expensive to you. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that there are different worlds, and there are different reasons that people purchase knives like this beyond function. This is obviously a very beautiful art piece on top of it being a functional cutting tool. So somebody looking for something like this is they're looking for it for a different reason than it just being a simple cutting tool. But that's what I appreciate about Olamic Cutlery. My experience with them, I've handled many knives from them now, and they always have great ergonomic designs. They have beautiful finishes. There's a lot of time and effort, and despite me thinking otherwise, I actually listed their Wayfarer as a mid-tech. I was wrong. Turns out this knife and the Wayfarer, the original, and a lot of knives in their lineup are 100% handmade with no CNC machine work whatsoever. I think there's sometimes a little bit of CNC machine work in the 247, and excuse me, I could be wrong about that, but as far as this knife and the Wayfarer go, and some of the other custom models, they are 100% handmade. Very, very cool. Before I get too far here, if I haven't said so yet, this was provided by Mr. Jeff Goodnow. Thank you very much, Jeff. I made a mistake the other day when I did the review on the Chad Nell MB1. I said that knife had sold. It's not that knife. This knife is gone. This knife has an owner. It has nothing to do with me. That was a personal sale between Jeff and the other gentleman, so that will not affect my review whatsoever. I will definitely give my honest opinion on this knife. Overall length of the Soloist, this is not a small knife. This is 9 3/4 inches overall. This is a big knife. From tip to scale on the blade, I'm trying to be very careful. This knife makes me nervous. It's so beautiful, and I've been so protective of it while it's been in my possession. I don't want to get anything even close to this knife because I don't want to put a single mark on it. The overall length of the blade is like 4.5 inches. The cutting edge, despite there being a forward choil, is actually about 4 1/8. Huge knife, very big knife, but somehow manages to feel smaller than it actually is. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons here. Up against the Ontario Rat 1. Ontario Rat 1 kind of dwarfed by the Soloist. Rat 1 coming in at 8.6 inches overall. You can see what size of knife we're working with here. How about up against the Spyderco PM2? Spyderco PM2 coming in at 8.3 inches overall. Again, dwarfed. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue? Ritter Hogue coming in at 8 inches overall. And last but not least, the Spyderco Para 3. Para 3 coming in at 7.25 inches overall. Again, completely dwarfed. Okay, we finally have everything out of the way that could possibly leave a mark on this knife. I'm telling you, it's nerve-wracking having my hands on a knife like this. It doesn't belong to me, and it's so beautiful and so perfectly crafted. It's just, it makes me nervous. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys an example of the action. I'm being delicate right now because I'm trying not to put fingerprints on it. I'm trying to keep everything off of the blade and the handle so you guys can see. On a finish like this, on anodizing, as you put your fingers on it, it actually dulls the color a little bit, and I really want these to stand out. This knife is running on bearings and has an absolutely excellent and very smooth flipping action. It's brand new, and like I say, a lot of the times there's a difference between grittiness and stiffness. There's actually almost zero friction inside of the pivot. It's basically just a little bit tight, which is something that comes with a brand new knife, but you can absolutely shake it shut, and the action is absolutely responsive. Very well tuned, just like every other Olamic cutlery knife that I have handled. Let's go ahead and weigh it. Technically the last object the knife will have to interact with on this video, except for my hands, but I don't think the scale is going to scratch it. Overall weight of the Soloist coming in at 7.05 ounces. Let's go ahead and weigh it again. 7.05 ounces. That's heavy. This is a full titanium knife, but it's almost a 10-inch knife. Considering the classification of knife that this is, which is very large custom showpiece that also could be a functional tool if you really wanted to use it, I don't know that I really care that the knife weighs 7 ounces. It's half an ounce over my maximum preferred carry weight. Because of the size and balance of this knife, it honestly does feel smaller than it actually is. Okay, let's go ahead and move on here, and I'm going to do my best to define this blade. I don't know what blade shape this is. It's kind of like a sheep's foot hawksbill. I don't know. It's so unique and bizarre. Check out the swedge, how this comes down. Yeah, by the way, it's perfectly centered. The swedge is huge. The flat only extends about 35% the length of the blade. And then there's this dividing line that comes right down to the tip. You can see the beautiful grind lines here. I believe this is M390. Beautiful, beautiful finish on this. The spine is crowned, nicely rounded off jimping. There are no sharp edges on the blade anywhere. Every last little bit of this knife has been perfectly, the blade has been perfectly finished and rounded off. The edge is absolutely perfect. There are no nicks or rolls or flaws. The blade is flawless and stunning, which is why I am being so careful with this. As far as my experience with Olamic Cutlery, excuse me, I'm wiping it off again. As far as my experience with Olamic Cutlery, they are really, really particular about the final product of anything. There is a lot of excess finish work, which is why I say things like, I'm always impressed by their prices, because they look like they're way more expensive than they actually are. Like I've tried to guess before, and I've been off by hundreds of dollars. Like I've guessed 500, 600 over. Now I'm not the best at judging, especially when you get into the custom knife world, but you know, I've seen enough and handled enough to where I feel like I could be fairly accurate, you know, and I'm usually wrong. They're usually less expensive than I think, and that's really impressive. Not just for how they look, but the final, you know, the function and the feel of everything is just, it feels very finished and very polished. It's nice. I love how simple and small They keep the logo. It says Olamic Soloist, which is funny to me now looking at that, because like multiple times I was like, I don't know what this thing's called, and it says right there on the blade. On the other side, there's nothing except for M390. You can see here that we have obviously an adjustable thumb stud opener. This is something that with the right tool can be adjusted. Now, I believe that the tool for this comes with it, or at least is offered by Olamic Cutlery. I'll tell you this, the position that it's in right now is perfect for getting it to deploy. Depending on the length of your hand and the position of your palm on this knife, it can be adjusted to make that work perfectly for you, and I think that's really cool. Is it completely necessary? No. Is it cool? Yeah, absolutely, it's cool. Taking a look at the handle here, which I am once again going to clean off camera, we have this stunning entropic finish that just looks like liquid magic from the ether was dripped all over the surface of this blade, and then they somehow managed to impregnate the titanium itself with this substance and trap it on the surface. Boy, that was really descriptive, huh? I'm gonna change the angle of my light here just a tad so we can get that light in there correctly. All of the edges, they look like they might be sharp. They're not. They're very, very well rounded off. If I can give you guys an example there of the nice rounding. Very, very beautiful. We have a flush and polished blue anodized pivot, show side pivot. We have some polished blue anodized handle screws that I think are one size up from the little tiny size that I don't like. Moving down here, same thing. You've got a nice large lanyard slot, I guess, plenty big enough for some 550 paracord. Then we have on the back here, sorry, there's some fuzz, I think, from the thing it came in, but we have this amazing rock pattern backspacer that's floating and has purple and gold, and I think the same, it's not quite the same entropic finish that's applied to the backspacer, but it goes along perfectly with the theme here. Do you see what I mean about the iridescence? How light changes the intensity? That's not a trick of the camera. That's actually what it does in real light. You turn this thing and all of a sudden the colors are like, bam! You see that? It's wild. It's so intense. I've never seen anything like it. The pocket clip has the same, almost looks like lightning pouring down that pocket clip. It's absolutely excellent. Nice retention on the pocket clip. You have, to my surprise, actually, we have a steel lock bar insert that doubles as the over treble stop, and then we have the, I always forget the word. Basically, the hardware style that requires you to use a specific tool set up on this. That bothers people, but I say this a lot. Depending on the caliber and the type of knife, I don't know that that is really going to bother me on something like this, because I'm not going to want to take it apart. Some people might. I just don't want to. Proprietary. Good God. I can never remember what those are called. Proprietary hardware. I don't think it's really going to bother people who are going to buy this because I don't feel like this is the type of knife that a lot of people are going to purchase and go out and carry and use. Could you? Yeah. It's a little bit big, but the main thing is what it is. It's a beautiful work of art on top of it being a functional tool. So the only reason to take it apart would be to clean it, and you really wouldn't have to clean it unless you've been out and using it or it's been in storage for a really, really long time. So I don't know. I wish it was a Torx head, but does it bother me that it's this? No, especially if Olamic provides the tool. Anyways, lockup on this guy's coming in at a very early. Let's go ahead and fire it and make sure that that's actually where it's locking up. Pretty darn early, about maybe a 10 or a 20% at maximum. There is no blade play up, down, left, to right, and it's very solid. Even with it being that early, I'm not actually concerned with the blade disengaging. I don't think that that's ever been an issue with Olamic Cutlery knives, and if it has been, it would be in very rare and sort of isolated circumstances, as is the case with a lot of companies, who are not known for lock geometry issues. I mean, there's always going to be a rogue issue every now and then, but Olamic Cutlery has not been known for that. What I really like is how Olamic Cutlery cuts a slot in their flipper tabs. It just looks nice. And the jimping that's actually on the flipper tab, it's not jimping that's going to bother you ergonomically, but it allows you to catch your finger on it and deploy it actively and easily. The jimping that's on the back of the blade is very functional. There's a nice little thumb rest back here. Ergonomically, this thing has plenty of room on the handle, and it locks in so nicely. This just feels like exotic power. I mean, like it feels so nicely finished. It's got such a glassy smoothness to the, and you can see there on the reflectivity, this is so smooth. It's like, have you ever seen when a perfectly flat piece of glass is laying down, and then they take another perfectly flat piece of glass and lay it down on top of it, and because it's so perfect, there's actually a small like sheet of air that forms between the two pieces, and the top piece like moves a little bit. That's what it feels like that surface is. It feels so precision and so perfectly executed that you could lay another piece of titanium down on top of it that is just as flat, and it would actually move or float over it. This is simply an incredible piece. I'm so honored to be able to show something like this on my channel. It's truly, truly beautiful. Now, while I realize it's not going to be for everybody, whether it's the blade shape or the finish, some people don't like a lot of color. In fact, I myself constantly say I'm a really boring person. I like titanium that is monochromatic, or I'm sorry, a blade setup and handle setup that is monochromatic, and I like texturing, and I like a straightforward blade. I don't like anything super exotic. So something like this, you'd think, what, you like this? Like, that's totally not what you like. This may not be something that I, like would seek, that would think up in my head and then seek out. But I can't deny that if I saw something like this, like if I had my funds ready and I saw something like this, maybe if I was at Blade Show and I went by their table and they had this laying out, I can't say I wouldn't be tempted by something like this. This is so striking and beautiful. I really like, I've always been drawn to Timascus for its, multicolored, properties and just how crazy it looks and how light sort of affects, how intense it is or how dim it is. And this entropic finish has the exact same effect, except it's actually a little bit, honestly, it's a little bit more complex on the surface because of all the little teeny tiny lines and the fact that it kind of looks like liquid lightning, or I don't know exactly how to define it, but it's just beautiful. And that mixed with Olamic's unique look and style is just breathtaking. This is a beautiful piece. The gentleman who decided to buy it is surely going to be happy. I am truly jealous of you, sir. But that's really all that I can say about this. Once this becomes an official, knife that Olamic is making, that is available, and that's not a prototype, I doubt it, but maybe I'll have another chance to review the final product. As is the case with any prototype, certain things might change. Certain details of this knife may not be the same on the final product, so keep that in mind. I just really wanted to share this with you guys, and I thought you guys might find it interesting. But that's going to be pretty much it for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, then please subscribe to my channel because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.